Hi, my name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director for New Shelves Books, and this is Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, where we answer your publishing questions, book marketing questions, and basically just build our writing community. So let's just jump in and get started. We've got lots of questions coming in, and I got emailed questions as well. All right, so we have a question from Pat. She says, I watched your barcode generator video, which is on the New Shelves YouTube, and she's got a question now. I'm told that you can use your barcode on Amazon, but on Ingram Spark, you have to use their barcode generator. Is that true? Well, Pat, that's kind of, as all things in publishing, sometimes when you are going to Amazon, you can tell them you have a barcode and then use your own. However, that's what they say, and there's a checkbox for that. I have never yet gotten a book that if I have my own barcode on the book, Amazon didn't slap their own barcode on it as well. And that barcode has an ASIN. It does not have your ISBN. So what I've started doing now to just avoid the double barcode, because it does not look pretty, you will have your barcode here, and then Amazon's barcode will kind of just go over top of it, but only cover part of it, and it looks really sloppy. So what I've started doing and what I recommend for clients is that you leave a blank spot for a barcode on KDP and let them just put their own barcode on there. This is for Amazon customers only. Tends to be cleaner, look better, and that's just kind of what I've stuck to. So no barcode on your cover for KDP is what I would recommend. And then you do a priced barcode on your Ingram Spark cover for your retail, wholesale, all of that through Ingram. So hope that helps. And again, anyone who wants that price barcode generator video, I did a how-to. It's about 7 minutes long on how to make your own price barcode. It's not hard to do. I did it in 7 minutes, so you can definitely do it in under 10. And it saves you about $30 per price barcode. So if you're into saving yourself some money and taking 10 minutes, I highly recommend that you go check that out. All right. I think I made a mistake. I have an ISBN for my paperback, then I made an ISBN for my Mobi and another ISBN for my EPUB and placed all three on the copyright page. Am I okay? Vicki, the good news is you're okay. It's not anything bad. You only need one ISBN for your digital book, which would be your EPUB and your Mobi. However, if you assign an ISBN for your Mobi and one for your EPUB, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. But next time, save yourself an ISBN, save yourself a little bit of money, and you only need one ISBN for your digital book, which covers your EPUB and your Mobi. So just remember that for next time, and you'll save one more ISBN. All right. Let me see. Another question we got into this week, and this one's by email, was a question about copyright. And the question was, should you file for your own copyright or should you use the service through Ballpark, which is Copyright Now? And again, I say this all the time, there's no wrong way to go about it. It's what's more convenient for you and what you're willing to pay. If you file for your own copyright, which you can absolutely do, it costs between the official documentation says $35 to $55 to file for a copyright. If you have one author and you're filing for a copyright within the US, it's $45 if you pay online. If you do the Copyright Now service through Ballpark, it goes through them. They have, they manage it, I guess, so you can track it a little bit more, and that's $80 if you buy it outright. So it may be a little bit more user-friendly to do the Copyright Now, but it is more expensive. So you have to weigh whether or not you want the convenience or you want to save a couple of dollars. And again, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think it's what's more convenient for you and what will work for you. Either one is fine in my opinion. Just make sure that you copyright your work, which brings me into the next question that we got, which was, I have an agent who is asking for sample chapters of my book. How do I protect myself from copyright infringement? And really all it is copyright your book. Your book does not have to be perfectly formatted as a manuscript and ready to be published to be copyrighted. You can have the basic document, the basic writing copyrighted. So make sure that before you go sending your book to anyone really, that you get your copyright on it. Now, of course, if you have to protect your copyright, that's completely different. But I would make sure that you have things in place so that your materials are copyrighted. And again, we just went over that you can do that through Copyright Now, or you can just send it in to the government and have it copyrighted that way. Either way is fine, but copyright your materials before you query, before you're sending out to a publisher. Always copyright your materials and protect yourself there. Yeah, copywriting an idea for a book is not possible because there are hundreds of ideas. So that's not possible. Copywriting an idea is not possible. All right, let's see. Yeah, so Wendy's saying copywriting for her book was $55 per book and $55 for audiobook. It depends on what you're sending in, what files you're sending in, if it's amended copyright, if it is a new copyright, how many contributors are in there. There's a price range in there, so it may vary a little bit from person to person. You also pay less if you pay online, so that plays a factor as well. All right. Ooh, David, any hints on selecting a virtual assistant for marketing and social media and ballpark pricing per hour? I think, David, that the most important thing to do is that as you are essentially looking at resumes, let's call them, of virtual assistants, I would be looking at their work. I would ask for past clients that you can go look at their work and make sure not only that they do a great job, but make sure that they are comfortable with what you need specifically. A businessman will need something completely different for a financial book than a romance author will need for Facebook. So make sure that you're finding someone that's comfortable within your genre, that has experience with what you are specifically looking for, or that you're willing to train them in that, and look at their past work. It's just like a resume, and that's what we want to look at. As far as ballpark pricing, it depends on where they live and what the average wage is there. It depends on, are you doing a monthly contract, or is this just kind of when I need you, you help? Are you looking for someone who has major graphic design experience, or are you looking for someone who is just going to be posting some on social media? I think you need to expect to pay for the services you're getting. But I will say most virtual assistants will fall anywhere between $20 and $50 an hour. And I know that's a large gap, but again, it depends on experience, what you're expecting from them. If you have a contract with them, if you are expecting more technical things, if you're expecting graphic design, if you're asking this person not only to run your social media, but to also help you with book files or uploading, then you should expect to pay more because that is specialized. So absolutely, go look in your area, ask people for recommendations, and that's a good place to start. All right, if giving out freebies on your website, should that material be copyrighted? And if so, should you put it in your name or your business name? I think it depends on what your freebie is. Are you giving away something that you're really going to fight over? Is it a one-page document that's you're not taking anyone to court over? That's up to you. The value of the material to you is what I think should drive that decision. You're never going to lose with copywriting something, but I do think that if it was a one-page a write-up that you did in 5 minutes, it wouldn't be that much to me. I mean, it would be like me taking every blog post and copywriting it. I honestly, there's tons of things for infringement and for stealing someone's work that's out online, and there are a lot of things that you can send a cease and desist for. Copyright, I tend to think of for more something like a book or something that is high value material. And again, in copyright you have to be willing to persecute, you have to be willing to go after someone for it and file things for it. So are you going to take those steps if someone takes that one-page document? And that's kind of the question that I think you should ask yourself. Go to our email here because I did get questions just this morning. All right, not that one yet. All right, someone wrote in and asked about profit motive. What is the incentive for a self-publishing company to vigorously market my book if it doesn't get the huge return percentage that a traditional publisher gets? And my question for that is it really a self-publisher? Because self-publisher means that you're publishing yourself. So is it a hybrid publisher? Are you paying to get published? And the answer for marketing is there's not a lot of motive usually. A lot of times the hybrid publisher, they are creating books. That's where they make their money, is from working with the author and getting paid from the author. They are not really making a royalty on the book. That's you. So most of them don't even really offer marketing. Some of them do. Absolutely. I mean, this is generalizing, but most of the time, if you are going with someone that you're paying to publish your book, then they don't really have the incentive to market your book. Now they may get some type of royalty in, certainly, and they may have some basic marketing packages, but most of the marketing will fall on the author. So that's what's different from a traditional publisher, because a traditional publisher is paying you for your manuscript, and then you are getting paid if your book sales more than cover that initial payment, you will then make royalties, and so then you're being paid royalties. But the publisher makes no money until they've sold enough to cover the initial payment for your manuscript. So they are very motivated to sell your book and to market your book, and that's kind of the difference. And that is also why traditional publishers are being more and more picky about working with authors who are willing to market themselves, or who are willing to work with a marketing team to really get themselves out there, because it ups their profit and it just makes sense. It's business, and that makes sense. But if you are going with a vanity press, a hybrid press, they don't have the same motive, because they aren't out money in the beginning that they have to cover their costs for. Not saying that they're bad, not saying that hybrid or vanity presses are not marketing at all, but they don't have the same incentive. All right. Let's see. Yep. All right. Another question that we had in was about social media, and it was about LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn. When we talk about social media and we talk about LinkedIn, a lot of people are like, number one, do I need it? And number two, how do I use it? And it's a really good question, because LinkedIn is one of those weird social medias where, yes, it's social media, but we're not posting pictures of our grandkids. We are not, saying, hey, having tacos for dinner. It's not quite the same thing as, let's say, Facebook. So the difference of LinkedIn and other forms of social media is that LinkedIn is really business-based. And you should keep that in mind when you're posting. Your post for LinkedIn should be business-focused. Now, keep in mind that your book is your business. So If you have a brand new amazing review from Kirkus or from Library Journal, post it on LinkedIn. If you are launching your book, it's absolutely okay to post it on LinkedIn. New blog posts are great. If you have business questions or you're looking to connect, again, LinkedIn is a great spot. You just need to curate a little bit more, keeping in mind that it's business-based. Again, we don't need to know that you're having tacos for dinner. I do want to know that on Facebook, and I also want your recipe because I love tacos. But on LinkedIn, that's not what people go for. And when you're connecting with people, you need to keep in mind that on LinkedIn, you're trying to connect with people that can either further your career or that it's just a good connection to have business-wise. So in my industry, in publishing and book marketing, I may connect to authors, agents, I could connect to lawyers, film agents, I could be connecting to people who are amazing with digital marketing. Those all kind of are within my sphere, and those are the people I want to connect to because they are going to possibly be a great connection down the road, either because I could benefit from their services, they could benefit from mine. That is what LinkedIn is all about. It's linking you to people that you may be able to connect with and have mutual benefit throughout your career. So keep that in mind as you're going on LinkedIn and as you're posting on LinkedIn. See, Miss Mary here is saying, I want to change the title of my book. I first published it in 2010. And it's it was originally published as Little Book of Missing Money, but it's no longer a little book. I want to change it to the Essential Book of Missing Money. It will have updated content. Do I have to include something like formerly published as the Little Book of Missing Money? So just in the last 2 weeks, I believe, KDP has changed the standard of what's required when you're publishing a book with a different title. They now require it not only in the book on the copyright page, but they require it in the description for Amazon. That's really important to know, that in the description of Amazon, at the very top of the description, it should now say formerly published as with the old title. And it's just kind of something that is a common courtesy that's considered the right thing to do, that on your copyright page or somewhere prominently in your front matter, you do say that your book was previously published by another title. That means that if I'm looking through a store and I see your book and I'm like, oh, this looks amazing, I can open it up and there is kind of that fact right there in the front, so that if I already purchased your book, I'm not repurchasing something and I don't feel cheated. Just kind of like a nice right thing to do. So you absolutely should have that in there. It's also important for you to know, Mary, that if you republish your book as another edition with a different title, none of your reviews or anything like that will move over on Amazon. So if you were to republish the same book, but a second edition, same title, your reviews would all move over. If you've got 42 reviews on Amazon, you can link those guys, and then you have 42 reviews on the new edition. However, if you change the title, that is not the case. Nothing moves over. So just consider that. Maybe that's fine and it doesn't affect you at all. Or maybe it would make more sense to take the Little Book of Missing Money and add a second book in the series or something along that lines. I don't know your book, but that's something to consider. I think it's always important that no matter which way you go, that you know all your options and you know how some of those things may affect you in your marketing down the road. So whichever way you go, good luck. And definitely if you republish under a different title, make sure that you have that prominently displayed on your copyright page and in your description. There we go. Mary's already on her 4th edition. See, maybe it's just time for a series. Maybe you've just got more knowledge than can fit in one little book. All right. If you have a book on Amazon that is not selling and it's been there for a year, can I take it down or would that not be to my advantage? My question would be, why would you take it down? Why not market it, or if you need to update it? If the book is written, if it's created, I would look at, why is it not selling? Did it not have the opportunity because you didn't have the marketing? Or is it not selling because it needs a new cover, because it's not grabbing you? I would never just take something down unless you have a purpose for doing so. If it's hurting your brand, if it's hurting your reputation. But also keep in mind that books never truly go away. That listing will always be available on Amazon. It just will no longer be for sale, or a new copy will not be for sale, and old editions will be for sale. So I would rather try to fix the issue and see what can happen than take away an income source. But again, if it's hurting your brand, if there's a reason for it, that's your decision. But don't just take something down. See if you can find out why and what can be improved so that you can increase those sales, and certainly the sales of your next book. All right, let's see here. I've been having difficulty getting endorsements for my next book. I've personally emailed many individuals. I've started to follow up, but wondering at what point am I being a pain? How many times do you follow up before getting the hint that users are not interested? Dave, that's a good question. My policy is you send out your initial ask and then you send one follow-up. Now, unless you send a follow-up and they say, oh, I'm so busy right now, but check with me in a month, then of course you keep following up. You've got the dialogue back and forth. But if you've sent out 2, 3 emails and have not gotten a response, I'm sorry, but it's time to take the hint that they just don't want to do that for you. So I think that it's really important that you reach out, and if it doesn't work out, go somewhere else. I don't think you should stop trying. I think that maybe you should be looking at your delivery. Do you have a clear ask? Are you getting to the right person? Are you offering them a copy of your book? While I usually include a link to a book funnel, if I'm asking for an endorsement, I always offer a print copy of the book if it's available. So make sure that you are making it as convenient as possible for them. And also look at the people that you're asking. Are they just super busy people? Do you maybe look outside of that sphere? Or in some cases, I've seen a lot of success when people go in and say, hey, I know that you're so busy. So if you do want to endorse this book, but you just don't have the time to write something out, I've got some options here. And feel free to take them and change them however you like, if you feel like it and you feel like you can endorse this book. So again, making it as easy as possible for the person that you're essentially asking a favor from is important. But after 2 or 3, just let it go, I'm afraid. So that's where I would stand. Does Amazon now requires second edition on top of a fiction description too? Vicky, no. If it's a new edition, you do not have to put that in your description. Only if it's the same book being published under a different title. So if I have Keri's Great Big Book of Advice as a title, and then I'm changing that to Keri's Advice is horrible, don't take it anymore, that's a totally different title. And so I need to make sure that I put it in the description that it's the same book, essentially different title. But a second edition under the same title is not the same thing. You do not need to note that in your description. It should be noted on your copyright page. Yeah, that's really good advice from Bob over here. Don't take it personally regarding endorsements. Many people have a no endorsement policy. Not only that, some people have no endorsement policy. Some people will not endorse things if they don't personally know the person. They will not endorse anything that could possibly go against their business, go against their financial gains. If you have any financial involved, they won't do an endorsement. So don't take it personally. Some people just don't have the option. Some people literally are not allowed legally to endorse things without going through lawyers. So sometimes it just is what it is. Great question from Mike here. How do we move the reviews over when creating a second edition of an original book? So if you have your book, I will take Vicky, for example, because I know her book. Her book is Lady Margaret's Escape. And then she had a second edition of the same book that she just published. And so what we did is we went to KDP, you use the contact us button, and you say, please link the first edition of Lady Margaret's Escape with the second edition of Lady Margaret's Escape. You give them the ISBN for both paperbacks, or the ASIN if you're doing ebooks. And you simply ask them to link the two editions. They will do that. What that does is it puts them onto the same page on Amazon and it links the reviews. Easy as that. It usually happens in 48, 72 hours. So it's quick, it's painless, and then suddenly you have all your reviews are right over onto the new edition. You've got a new pub date and still have all your reviews. I have seen people who've not done this, and they have their first edition has 17 reviews, and then their second edition has 10 reviews, and when you link them, suddenly that person has 27 reviews, and it's awesome. So make sure that you're doing that for yourself. You worked hard to get those reviews. It's the same book, just an updated edition. So make sure that you get them paired up so that you don't lose that benefit. All right, you sort of answered this last week, but not fully. I'm wondering if I used Kickstarter funds to buy my books at full price retail as gifts to my backers and have them shipped directly to them, would their subsequent reviews be considered verified? So no, a verified review is only if that person purchased the book on their account and then left a review of the same book on their account. Any gifted books do not count as verified reviews on Amazon, even if it was shipped directly to them. It has to be purchased on their account, and then the review has to be left on the same account. Certainly, gifting copies is a great way to get copies in people's hands of your book, but it will not count as a verified review. Whoops. Let me see here. I'm looking for advice on how to get corporate speaking opportunities for an author client. I'd like to have the author speak to a large group and then sell books at the end of the talk. I'm unsure of how to get started booking this kind of opportunity. So I would say that the first thing is this may not happen right now. Depending on different parts of the world and different parts of the US even, big opportunities like that aren't quite happening. Everything's happening online. However, if you have a corporate book or business book, or even sometimes a self-help book, one of the best ways to get sales is by establishing your credibility with a speaking engagement. And the best way to get those speaking engagements is to find the conferences or the groups that regularly book those and start pitching yourself out. Start asking them if they would be willing to host or have you or your client be a guest as a speaker. It's really important that when you go to them, that you have researched their company, you know their pain points or their needs, and that you have 2 to 3 options of talks that you think would benefit them. So in my business with book marketing and publishing, I do this all the time. And what we do is we go to different places like IBPA or Ally or Author Learning Center, and we say, you know, I'd love to speak to your audience. I have the following topics I think would be really helpful. Amazon algorithms with a short sentence or 2 of what I can offer on Amazon algorithms. Getting your books into libraries and bookstores with a short description of what I can offer for that. That way, they not only know that you understand them and their pain points, but you have a very short description of what exactly will be offered, so they know whether or not it would be a good fit. And sometimes you'll get no response, sometimes you'll get responses, sometimes you'll get, well, that's great, but it doesn't really fit my audience, but we did look at your website and I'd really like you to come do a whole class on Amazon ads. but you have to give them something first. Again, same thing as when we're pitching our books for sales. When we are pitching ourselves, we need to make it easy for the person we're pitching to say yes. We want to make sure that we're adding value. We want to make sure that it's something that works well for them and adds value for them. Sometimes speaking gigs are paid, sometimes they are not, but I mean, there are plenty of opportunities and corporate speaking opportunities out there. So make sure that you are researching first and then offering a pitch that is tempting. And sometimes with corporate speaking, not only can you do back of house sales, but sometimes depending on the size of the corporation and the topic, they may even buy bulk books to give to each of their employees. So that's something to consider as well. And I think right now in 2020, it's important that if you are pitching now with, again, things being closed, that you confront that and you say, we are very happy to do Zoom webinars, or we are prepared to do something online. That adds value immediately for people in the current times. All right. Is there any problem with putting out audiobook clips while your audiobook is being approved by ACX? If you're putting out little clips, I think that's probably fine. However, if you were putting out the whole book, that's not a good idea. I also think when you say putting out clips, do you mean a small, 30-second to 2-minute reel? Are you putting out a whole chapter? Then you need to go to ACX and you need to look at your contract and make sure that you're allowed to do that. If it's completely exclusive and you're putting out clips, that could get your hand smacked. But you have to look at your contract first and foremost. All right. How can I acknowledge that a revised book was once published under another title when I republish? So again, if you are republishing with a different title, you need to have it in your description and on your copyright page. And also, if you're republishing, tell your audience, say, hey guys, I'm really excited that I've rebranded my book and I'm putting it out. It's got great new content, but it's the same book under a different title. I think the best option is just transparency, and tell them why. I mean, as long as it's something you don't mind sharing. All right, when I have my files ready to publish, what are the steps? Upload to KDP first for ebook, then upload paperback to Amazon, then paperback and hardcover to Ingram. How much time do you wait between these uploads? So Pat, you can upload all simultaneously. What you don't want to do is release them all simultaneously. So on the same day, you can go to KDP, upload your ebook, upload your paperback, and then take the paperback and the hardcover to Ingram Spark and upload all on the same day. What you don't want to do is you do not want to release the Ingram Spark paperback before the KDP paperback is launched. And the reason why is that if you approve and release the Ingram Spark paperback before the KDP paperback is launched, Ingram Spark will send that metadata over to Amazon and put your book up for pre-sale or for sale on Amazon, which makes it a little messy when you go to launch your book from KDP, and it can screw your sales up a little bit. So unless you're intentionally trying to do a paperback pre-order, you need to make sure that you approve your KDP paperback first, and that once it's live is when you release the paperback from Ingram Spark. Now, as far as your hardcover, Amazon doesn't do hardcover, so release that anytime you like. When you release that, if it's before your launch day, it will do a pre-order, which is being fulfilled by Ingram Spark through Amazon. And if you are just launching it and it's live, again, it's not really going to affect anything. Ebooks, Again, you can do pre-order on KDP for your ebook. That is possible. So if you're doing that, or if you're launching it, that's fine. I personally do not use Ingram Spark for my ebook distribution. I prefer draft to digital. And when I do draft to digital, there's an option to just exclude Amazon, which is what I do. So again, those don't cross paths at all. It's not an issue. So the only big issue when releasing your books is you want to make sure to release the KDP paperback before the Ingram Spark paperback, unless you are trying to do a pre-order. There is no pre-order for paperback on KDP. I hope that was clear and not clear as mud. So yeah, through. We had an excellent question come in this morning. Mr. Charles here is saying that KDP doesn't offer spiral bound books that lay flat. So what is another option? Because Charles has a set of journals, 6 journals that need to lay flat. And the option for you there is really to consider a different printer. Know that some of these different printers may not give you as much control. They may not allow you to do a full trade discount to wholesalers like Ingram. And if you do that, then it may mean that you've priced yourself out or marketed yourself out of retail stores. So it's something to keep in mind. And with spiral bound, some of the options are Lulu. Lulu is one of them. I even pulled up a whole list. So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Lulu is one of them. Let's see. Lulu, 48-Hour Books does them. Print Ninja, Book Factory, Digipod, Printing Center USA. So there are people who will print your spiral bound books. However, it'll be a little more complicated. You're either getting an offset print run that you have to distribute yourself or go through a distributor, or you're going through someone who may take some of the control process away from you, like Lulu, something like that. So keep that in mind. There are options, but you need to weigh the pros and cons and see if it will work for your business model. All right, Wendy's asking, if I do draft to digital, why would I have to exclude the ebook from Amazon? I get a lot of ebook sales from Amazon. Wendy, I'm not saying that we don't want to put our ebook available through Kindle and through Amazon. I'm saying that we want to distribute our ebook to Kindle and Amazon through KDP. Your profits are higher, you have more control, and it just makes sense. So I use KDP for ebook distribution and paperback distribution to Amazon. Then I use Draft to Digital for Kobo, Apple iBooks, to Overdrive, Baker and Taylor for libraries. I'm just using 2 separate things, just like I use Ingram Spark for wholesale, Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, but I'm using KDP for Amazon. Same idea. It's not that we don't want our ebook available from Amazon, because they have over 90% of the ebook sales in the US. We absolutely want our book from Amazon. It's just, if I'm looking for expanded distribution, I am going to exclude Amazon from that list and go with KDP just for Kindle. Makes more sense, makes more money. Ooh, any content suggestions for Instagram author pages? And where would I find the emojis? The emojis are on your, let me clean my phone first. They're on your phone. So Instagram was really made to be a phone app, and that's where it shines. So if you're looking for emojis and things like that, it would be in your keyboard. And they have lots of cool ones. Sometimes they even have seasonal ones like Halloween. It's great, and it makes me way too happy. But as far as content, I think that it should be in line with your book. So if you have a children's book, things that appeal to kids, maybe it's crafts for kids, maybe it's your book cover, maybe it's someone reading your book at a story time and you're doing an Instagram story. What else can you do? You can do, I've seen really cute things for books, and it's a author Instagram where they take their book with them wherever they go, and wherever they travel, they get a picture of their book in an iconic spot. And those are always super fun and cool to look at. Maybe on your Instagram, you are doing inspiring quotes or writing quotes, or you're taking quotes from your book and you're formatting them in Canva and doing little images. Whatever it is, it needs to play to your audience, and it needs to highlight your books, but it also needs to play to your audience. If you are just posting pictures of your book covers all the time, people will get very tired of your Instagram feed. Give them different things to look at, connect with people. If you have a pet, put your pets on there. Everyone loves, cute dog pictures. I mean, who doesn't like a cute dog picture or a cat picture, whatever floats your boat? But doing things that interest us in life generally is fine. We need to connect with our readers, and that's what social media is really about, is connecting with our readers and connecting with our audience, so that when we talk about our book, they're more receptive to it, and we're actually connected to people, and they're more likely to support you because they're connecting to you. Just going to go back over here to my email. And again, if you've got questions, drop them in the Q&A. We've got a couple more minutes left. All right. And there was a question here from someone talking about Costco. And the question was really about, is Costco still open to self-published authors? And the answer is yes. You guys, everyone is open, pretty much, even if they say they're not. Everyone's open to self-published authors. But they have to be professionally published. Not traditionally, professionally. You can professionally publish your own books. We see it all the time. We work with people and we see books that are professionally published all the time. That means that they fall in line with current standards. They know the pricing model. They have their books available on wholesale. It's really about making sure that your book falls in line with traditional publishing, so that when people look at your book, they're seeing a professional product that they can imagine selling. And that's what's important. It's important that when you are going to Costco or someone else, that you know the key words to use. I would love if you would allow me in your store for a day to consign my books and to sell them and see if it would be a good fit for your market. I would love if you would consider my books that are available from a wholesaler, tell them the wholesaler, at a full trade discount and fully returnable. It's important that you are going to them with the lingo they understand, and that you're going to them with a business proposition. I know sometimes that's hard for authors because you have put your heart and soul into your book, and so it's very easy to lead emotionally. I really want you to carry my book. I really want you to sell my book. Or I grew up here and I just always imagined my book on your shelves, which is great. But a business person needs a business proposition. I am a huge fan. I grew up in the area, and I was wondering if you would consider carrying my book so that I can drive everyone I know here to buy the book. I think it's great for your market because, and you tell them. You can see how one is asking almost for a favor without a reason, and one is saying, I'm going to help you. And that's what we need to remember, whether it's a local indie bookstore or it's Costco or it's Walmart. We need to remember that it's, while you are emotionally involved, for them it's business. And yes, the two intertwine sometimes, but it's important that we put on our business face when we are going to retailers, and we understand that they have a market to serve, and we need to tell them how we and our books fit within that market. So go to them with a marketing plan and with a business plan, and they will be much more open to hear you and to work with you to sell your books. Do I have any advice about what hashtags are good for authors to use on Instagram? So Instagram allows you, I believe, 30 hashtags, and I think that you should always use at least 5 when you're on Instagram. Like obnoxious amounts. That's kind of what Instagram's about, is the obnoxious amount of hashtags. And when doing hashtags for writing, it could be am writing, hashtag books, hashtags, library, hashtag books, hashtag am reading, hashtag characters, hashtag authors, hashtag writing community. A good way to do it is that if you are, number one, if you're following an author who you admire, who you think is doing well, look at their hashtags and see what they're doing. Or try some hashtags out yourself and start searching them and see what kind of posts come up. Go browse those posts, find an author that's kind of similar to you, a comp author that is maybe got some of the same content as you, and check out their hashtags, see what they're using. Again, it's never my policy to copy anyone else. However, it's absolutely okay to emulate other people. It's a form of flattery, really. Emulating them, seeing what's working, and taking your cue from other people and finding out what's working in the marketplace is totally okay. What's not okay is to take their block of hashtags and start using it yourself. That's a little shady, so let's not do that. But it's absolutely okay to go do some research, see what's working, and start taking your cue from people that are doing things successfully. I'm totally lost when it comes to marketing. I believe in my book. I know it's well received by those I have sold it to face-to-face at signings. So the thing with marketing is you just have to start. I am very fond of saying you need 10-minute marketing moments. 5 days a week, you need a 10-minute marketing moment. That may be sending out 3 emails. That may be putting up a social media post. It may be researching a blog to pitch yourself to. But I think it's so important that you take the time and you market. Many people say, I don't know how to market. And the truth is that you just have to start. You just have to put your name out there. You have to put your book out there and see what works and see what resonates. And there are so many, there's blogs, there are YouTubes, there are accounts that will give you ideas for marketing. And so take advantage of them. A lot of them are free. I know we do webinars a lot. We've got a newsletter. Go take advantage of these things and try them. Not all of them will be a good fit. You will do some marketing things and be like, that did not work. Or that didn't work for me. I wasn't comfortable. I hated it. I didn't like it. And then sometimes, you know, you take that into consideration, but you just have to start. Just get out there and do something, get your book out there, and see how it goes. All right, I have a complete manuscript, but at the moment, I don't have money to pay an editor, cover designer, and all. What advice can you give to get my book published? I think, number one, are you trying to self-publish or are you trying to traditionally publish? If you're trying to traditionally publish your book, it's time to start querying an agent. You can certainly, some smaller publishers, traditionally published, but smaller publishers allow personal submissions, but most publishers do require an agent. So if you're looking for an agent, you have to query an agent, and that's kind of how it goes. You get the agent's attention first, and then from there you get kind of shopped and sold into a traditional publisher. If you are trying to do this yourself, it may need to go in stages. I think that it's so important that you take the time to do things right. Don't just throw a book out there that hasn't been edited. I see that sometimes, and people always regret it. Maybe you can barter with an editor. Maybe you have to save up for an editor. Maybe you get someone who's just breaking into editing and who's doing things a little bit less expensive because they need to build up their resume. Same thing with cover design. I've seen great cover design at $200, and I know that may seem like an insurmountable amount of money, but if you save up and do it. That's kind of what it takes if you're self-publishing. So self-publishing is one of those things where, yeah, you take on all the cost yourself, but you also reap all the benefits yourself. So I'd rather see people save up and do things as they can, again, barter, work with people, and get things out. And it may be a little slower than you would like, but unfortunately, that's how things work. I mean, you can't build a great house if you don't have the materials for it. So sometimes you have to save up for the materials before you can build the house. And it's the same thing with the book and publishing. Sometimes you have to save up for each step before you can get that book out there. But good luck. And certainly there's a lot of things you can learn how to do yourself, interior formatting and so many different things that if you've got the time, you can learn to do those pieces yourself. So get in there and see what that might look like for you and what pieces you might be willing to learn or do yourself. Oh, and also I'd be remiss if I didn't say there are plenty of people who've done things like Kickstarter or different type of fundraising to get out there. So consider that as well. If you are willing to fundraise, there's lots of stuff like that. Okay, let's see. Does it pay to use KDP Select, which is 90 days exclusivity if you have only one book and not a series? Here's the thing with KDP Select. There are some pros and cons. One of the pros for KDP Select is people are more likely to try it, a new book, a new author, because they are not going to lose anything. I can download an author, I can read 2 pages of their book and say, nope, no thank you, and I return it, and I don't lose a thing, except for maybe 5 minutes of my life. So there is the value in that people are more likely to try a new author through Kindle Unlimited and KDP Select. KDP Select also has a ready bunch of readers. They have thousands of people already in this program looking for books in Kindle Unlimited all the time. So they've got a group of readers right there. And with 90% of ebook sales happening on Amazon, it's a huge market. Some drawbacks to KDP Select is you get paid per the page. So if someone does, instead of buying your book, reads 20 pages in and then stops, you don't get paid $6.99 for your book. You get paid for 20 pages. You also make less money overall if you add up your page count and what Kindle Select is paying per page. It usually ends up less than you would outright sell your book for. So again, you have to kind of look at it, is the exposure worth a little bit lower pay? Is the opportunity worth less pay? Another nice thing about Kindle Select is that you can do countdown deals. You can do up to 5 free days in a 90-day period, which can be a great way to get your name out there, to get reviews. So there are certainly opportunities as well, but you have to kind of look at it for your book and see what works best for you. It is only a 90-day contract, so a lot of times I'll say, hey, try it for 90 days, and then if you afterwards are saying it's not working for me, take your book out of KDP Select and go broad. You're not stuck in it forever, which is nice. Is there any software app I can use for proper editing? I'm afraid not. We did do a whole interview with a lovely editor, Erica McIntyre. And so that's on our YouTube. Go find that. She's got great tips for editing. There are softwares. There are things like Grammarly and different processes, and they help, but they don't take the place of an editor. An editor is trained. They've got a human eye that is looking through and reading for context. They're reading for flow. They're reading for missing pieces. And unfortunately, there's just not an app that can quite replace that. They can help with grammar in some senses, but it just won't replace a true edit, I'm afraid. All right, my friends, we are at the end of our hour, but I'm going to scan through our last questions here. All right. Ed, I'm going to need you, I see your questions, but if you could email that to me, that would be great. It's not quite coming across all the way through. So I'm not quite sure of your question, but if you email in at questions@freeadvicefridays.com, I will get back to you. All right, can you re-enroll to KDP Select once you leave if you unpublish your ebook other places? Yes, generally you can. However, the process can be very long. If you're already in other places like Nook and Nook and iBooks and all that stuff, if you're already in other places, you can unpublish, but the process may take a long time because Amazon's looking for the exclusivity. So they're looking on those sites, and if they see your book on those sites, they'll tell you no. So it's possible, but it may take some work. And speaking of Nook and Barnes & Noble, actually, a question that I saw in one of the publishing groups that I frequent is, what's going on with Barnes & Noble? My book is not showing up there, and I approved it on either Draft to Digital and or Ingram Spark. I thought they were supposed to get my book into Barnes & Noble. And the answer is yes, they do get your book into Barnes & Noble. Ingram Spark does get your book into barnesandnoble.com through Ingram, and Draft to Digital does get your book into Nook for ebooks. However, most of us have probably heard that Barnes & Noble, their systems were hacked at the beginning of October. I believe it was around the 10th of October. And what happened is, because their systems were hacked, they stopped syncing data. They put a freeze on their data, and what is happening is that they're not updating pricing or updating new books currently. When speaking to Barnes & Noble, I didn't get an answer on when that freeze would go away, when it would unfreeze. But if you have an ebook that is priced a certain way and it hasn't updated and you've changed the price, or if you have recently in the last couple of weeks published a book and your book is still not showing up on Barnes & Noble, no, it's not you. It is a freeze happening from the data breach that went on, and it will resolve hopefully sooner rather than later. But I did see a couple of questions come through that way, so it is what it is. Good luck. And hopefully Barnes & Noble, like I said, they're doing a lot of things, I think, to amp up their security and make sure everything's all set before they start syncing everything again. All right, you guys, I think we got through most of our questions today. Yay. We will be back next Friday for Free Advice Fridays. Thank you for joining us. We hope that if you enjoy Free Advice Friday, that you share it with your friends. It's freeadvicefridays.com. You can see replays. You can join us. You can join our Facebook group, and we will be back next Friday. If you've got questions you would like to email in, questions with an S at freeadvicefridays.com. You can email those in anytime and we get to them on Friday. Thanks so much, you guys, and have a great weekend.